Hey y'all, it's me Keisha and I'm here with this week's All Tea All Shade Next Gen NYC Season 1 Episode 3 review. And baby, woo, this episode tap danced on my last nerve, honey. Let's get into it. So, Georgia was having an event that she invited everybody to. Let's just get that off and put that on the record. So Brooks, we find out, got a boo thing by the name of Cade. And Brooks is out golfing with his dad, Seth. And his daddy asked him about his schmeck's life, which was cringe AF because of what? And then asked him, does his boyfriend have a high body count? Which is something that he just learned. And it's like, Seth, you and them leggings you got on, please get somewhere and sit down and leave this child alone. Brooks then tells him about the Charlie situation. And Seth was like, does Chloe know? And he was like, no, I guess he didn't want to upset her. But his daddy was like, she should know that this is being said about her. Like, you need to tell her. So Seth was like, I used to be like that when I was young. And Brooks was like, he's 29. Seth was stumped then. He was like, oh, okay, do you think I should talk to him, since he doesn't have a close relationship with his dad? And so I was like, so everybody know that you and your daddy relationship is so. Okay. Everything is coming into place. Okay. Charlie links with his English mom, Liz, and her brother, who looked like he was a folk singer. It was like, what the hell is going on here? So we learned from Charlie in his confessional that his parents got divorced when he was 3. So he was raised by his mama, of course, from birth up until the age of 10. His mama was really involved in like the artsy fartsy New York world, and he said that she didn't really provide a lot of stability for him and his siblings, like making sure dinner was on the table and things of that nature. So his father, Anwar, got custody of them, and basically it was because of that and because she pretty much just tapped out of being a parent. She didn't really want to do it anymore. Yeah. So once again, all the pieces are coming together as to why Charlie is so up. Okay. Charlie then says that when he was, I guess, a teenager, him and his father end up like having a really bad disagreement, and he went to his mother about it, and he needed her to defend him, and she was like, yeah, I agree with you. But then when it was presented to the father, she backtracked and was like, no, I didn't say that. No, I don't agree with that. And basically left him to fend for himself alone, which is really terrible, because you got one parent who is the father who is very hard on him and basically acts like he does not like him as a person. And then you got the mother who was in and out, that you do care about and you do love, but she hasn't been there and been a supportive parent. So it explains why he is so bitter and why he is just basically roaming through life with no purpose, and really no compassion for others because nobody cared for him. Does it give him a pass? Absolutely not, because there are other people who have gone through way worse than you and are not as horrible of a person as you are, So, he says that, his mom has worked on herself and has tried working on their relationship, but that his dad continues to open old wounds that they have with one another. I think that the father is personally very disappointed in him and who he's grown up to be. And he seems like he's disgusted by his behavior. He seems like he's very hard and tough person. He doesn't seem like he's a very emotional person at all. He doesn't seem like the type of person or a parent that you can go to and talk to him about your feelings, much like what Charlie said. I think that he's the type of father who is more partial to his daughters than he is his sons, which is messed up. Charlie even compares his father to the dad on Succession, and his mother shows him some pictures that she found that he drew when he was younger, and it was about his daddy, and it was pictures of his father being and pow pow, and I was like, oh, this baby needed therapy. And I'm like, you saw these types of pictures and didn't think that this child needed help, where he was drawing pictures about unaliving his father? God bless America. Ooh, God. But then he was like, let's not continue this conversation because I don't want to get cut off when this airs. Please believe you are. And I hope that it happens because of how you acted in last week's episode and this week's episode. I hope the daddy do cut you off financially, because you need to be cut off financially. Okay. And it's not because of the conversation of you blasting your daddy and his horrible parenting. It's because of the horrible person that you are. And please believe I will bet my last dollar that man has cut him off after everything that he said about him. On this show. So then, instead of taking us to the event that Georgia had, the producers show us what happened in a flashback. So Riley was there, Charlie was there, a lot of the other, kids was there or whatever. And we see that Charlie actually made up with Ariana and Hudson. He apologized or whatever. They squashed it. But now, knowing what I know, was it even a genuine apology? Probably not. So Georgia ended up losing her phone, and Charlie ended up leaving with his friends and some girls, leaving Georgia there with Riley. And of course, Riley, I guess, didn't just want to leave her, considering the girl didn't have no phone, but Charlie just left and didn't tell Georgia he was leaving or anything. Obviously, I guess they were supposed to leave together. I don't know, but he just left her, which was effed up. So Seth ends up meeting with Charlie, and it was so cringy, y'all. It was so cringy, but yet again, it was funny and it was kind of endearing, because Seth was really trying to be there for Charlie. And he even goes on to tell this grown man that he wants to be his life coach. And I'm like, somebody needs to be your life coach, sir. So Seth was like, talking to him about him and Chloe, and was like, I heard that whether it's gonna be like a body count thing with my daughter or something more. And Charlie was looking like, what? Like, it's what daddy says that to somebody. Like, oh God, Seth, Jesus be offense. Charlie was like, Brooks and Gia has taken it upon themselves to care now about something I did or said about a girl I went on a date with. And it's like, Charlie, is this thing on? You talking about his daughter, right? She's not just some girl. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, white people... Where did it go wrong for y'all? Like, oh my God, y'all are clueless sometimes. God. And I'm like, you talking about they decided to care about some girl I went on a date with. That's his sister, sir. Like, what about this don't you get? So then he even admits to Seth that he might have said that he wanted to F Chloe. Like, how do you admit something like that to somebody's father? Like, you wild as hell. Like, I appreciate the honesty and you not lying, but like, this whole conversation is wild. And especially considering the fact that him and Chloe only went out on one date with each other. One date. Now, I don't like the things that he said about her and how he keep on antagonizing Brooks with the situation, but he's doing it because Brooks ain't checked him yet. You know what I'm saying? But Seth was like, I'm going to tell Brooks, that you're sorry and that we're moving on from this. And I'm like, Seth, this conversation did absolutely nothing. But I did appreciate the fact that Seth was trying to be there for Charlie and talk to him and ask him how he's being, what he got going on, because that did something for Charlie. The stuff about Chloe did nothing. But Seth even trying to act, not act, but show him that, there's somebody that cares about you. It did affect Charlie, because he even said it's a vast difference between Seth and his father. He would have never been able to have those types of conversation with his dad. And I think that if he would have had a actual loving parent, he probably wouldn't have grown up to be the asshole that he is, unfortunately. So it's the day of Gia's pool party that she's having at Teresa's house. So the group rides together out to Jersey, right? In a Sprinter, and they're about to play a game, and it comes up how Charlie left Georgia, and he says that he told Dylan to tell them that he was leaving, and Georgia and Riley was like, he didn't come up to us and tell us anything. And then he goes on to say that Riley went up to the girl they left with and said, you think it's cool to be here with Charlie, but not make sure it's cool with me? And Riley was like, I did not say that. They flashed back, and Riley actually walked up and was like, hi, I'm Riley. And the girl said, hi, I'm Sylvia. And she said, Sylvia, hi, nice to meet you. Sorry, I love when my friends, girls, ask my name. I'm his friend. You should, be nice or whatever. Charlie then was like, nah, you was all like this and doing all of that. And Riley looked like, is he serious? Like, did he really just... And when you see the clip, she did not do any of that. That was such a microaggression. It was like, what the fuck are you, like, you just totally not just lied on me, but painted me to be like this ghetto rah-rah girl, and it wasn't even nothing like that at all. So of course Riley is triggered and she's upset. And he was like, yeah, the girl handled it well. Handled what well? Because Riley checked her on not knowing how to speak to people. Like, you're rude, bitch. Like, speak to people. Now, would I have cared if somebody I'm hanging around with brings some people around and they don't speak to me? If we in a public place, I wouldn't give a fuck. Don't speak to me. I ain't got to speak to you. I don't care. I probably will never see you again. Only way I would care is if you're in my home and you walk in my place and don't speak to me. Then, yeah, we'll have a problem. So Georgia was like, all night those girls never introduced themselves. It was odd. She's even agreeing with Riley. And Charlie was like, Riley didn't introduce herself either. I didn't hear her say, hi, nice to meet you. First thing she said was accosting her. And she did not accost her. She said it in a very polite way and everything. And once again, he's painting her to be this loud, boisterous, ghetto black girl that's out here being mean to poor little white girls. So Riley gets upset and starts crying. And I was like, no, not Riley. We're not going to do this to Riley. We're not going to do this to Riley. No, we're not, Jesus. No, we are not. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it when we see black people in these situations where they're in a group of white people and they really don't have other people of color around them that understand and that are going to have their back, and they have to deal with the microaggressions and the stupidity of white people and their ignorance and everything else. And even though Ava is there and she's biracial, she really wasn't a help. She really honestly wasn't a help. I do think that if old girl, the trans girl, I can't give her name right now, even though I love her. I think if she would have been there, she would have stuck up for Riley. Because I think, based on me following her for as long as I have, if Amira would have been there, that I think that she would have checked him. I think that she would have stood up and said something. Because she presents herself as a black woman, even though she too is of mixed race. I believe she's mixed, if I'm not mistaken. But I felt so bad for Riley. So bad for her. Oh my God, I felt so bad for her. And Riley says that she was like, y'all always trying to make me seem like I'm this scary, mean person to these white girls. And she was like, and the girls were rude and should have introduced themselves. And Charlie was like, I don't know if I'm being white is relevant. Bitch, that's the main part of it. Ho. Sometimes you just gotta cuss a bitch out. I don't give a fuck if it plays into the stereotypes, but sometimes you gotta put some bass in your voice to get people to understand you, because they don't understand when you try to be nice and explain. And even when you're tearful, they could care less. So Riley was like, when have I ever done this? When have I ever done this? I don't do that. And Charlie was like, there are aspects of this conversation that I think are a little bit extra. So now he's saying that she's doing too much and that this conversation ain't even worth her tears. Bad. So Riley was like, it's not extra for me though. And Ava jumps in, and I appreciate that she did try to help. She was like, I think it's the specific nuances that you don't even think about. And Charlie was like, well, you know, I'm sorry, or whatever. But the sad part about that is that it took light-skinned, biracial Ava to say something to you for you to apologize. And that's because you respect her more than you respect Riley, because she has more resemblance to whiteness and her behaviors and her mannerism than she does to blackness. And that's all that is. And Riley then says to Georgia, you did the same thing with the hand sanitizer situation. You were like, I was scary in the way that I said it. And Georgia says, you said that hand washing thing so calm to me. It was a tone of voice thing, and I love you now. We're over it. White people, white people, white people, white people. And it's like, listen to yourself. You just said it was a tone of voice thing. She didn't say it to you in no fucked up way. Did she say it in an ew way? Yeah, because it's a ew situation, ma'am. But some white people are just not used to being checked and told about themselves, that it's like, oh my God, you're coming at me. How rude and how aggressive, and because they're not used to it. They're not used to anybody telling them that, hey, that's disgusting or that's wrong or you should work on. They're just not used to it. It's like, oh my God, the audacity. Oh my word, you know? And Riley was like, I was with you when this thing happened. You were annoyed with the situation. All I said was that they should have introduced themselves. I was introducing myself to show manners that she did not. And I said, clock it, Riley, clock it. So here go Charlie. You confronted her. She's a little girl. Excuse you? If she was such a little girl, that what your grown ass was doing with her, Mr. 29-year-old, if she's such a little girl, you left with that little girl, you nasty motherfucker. That's what she should have said to him. But Riley was like, a little girl, she's probably older than me because I'm taller. I scared her. I don't like how y'all are trying to spin this narrative like I'm this scary black girl. And Charlie goes, that is so far from what I said. Let's be very clear. No, bitch, that's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you're implying. You just not outright saying it, but that's exactly what you're implying. So Riley was like, it's your mannerisms, Charlie. You do this shit all the time. Ava then tries to get him to apologize. And he is like, no, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm just going to be quiet. Now, I will say that Brooks went over to comfort Riley. When this was going on, Adriana was being there for her or whatever. I just wish that somebody other than Ava would have checked him. And maybe they did and we just didn't see it. But it was pretty much everybody was uncomfortable and on mute. Pretty much. And I can tell that Riley did feel alone in that situation, even though Ava was trying to help, which I do appreciate. But Ava, I got something for you too, ma'am. So they get to Gia's house and Riley calls Candy and tells her. And of course, Candy is pissed off. You can tell they're both people where she's much like her mother. When she gets upset, she cries. And Candy was like, you gotta continue to speak up for yourself. You're a great person. Like, you don't let nobody talk to you or treat you any kind of way. And if he can't, then don't fuck around with him. Like, let him know who you are, And Brooks was there for her in that moment too as well. So then Charlie decides that he's gonna pull Riley, and he apologizes to her. But I could tell even in that moment that he was just saying it to pacify her. Nothing about that apology seemed genuine. Nothing. And sure enough, we then see him over with Georgia and this dude named Cooper. And he says that, no, I wasn't really sorry. I just said it to end the conversation, like to just be done with it. Mind you, he's getting ate up on social media, as he should. As he should. And then it just came out that he filed like a $1.2 million bankruptcy. Like, your life is fucked up, sir. You have nothing going on for yourself but this reality show. So you better make this shit work. Okay. So then Cooper goes over and tells Ava that Charlie really wasn't sorry. And Ava is now pissed off. And Ava says in her confessional, I also think it's rude to me because I went out of my way to give him advice. Ava, and this is what I want you to understand, my love. It is rude to you because you did try to help the situation. But mama, it's rude to you because you're a black woman. You're a black person. My love. He's talking about you too. You're in that same category. But you obviously haven't been taught blackness in the way that you should have from your parents. And I'm shocked, especially considering that Dame freaking Dash is your dad. And that those were not conversations in your household about blackness. Because even though you're mixed, you still show up as a person of color. You're brown skin, you just got wavy hair. But it's obvious that you are not white, right? And I'm like, you should have been offended because he was being racist. He was stereotyping Riley. Very much so. You just not getting it blatantly because your aesthetic, your tone of voice, the people you hang around with has been white kids. Your daddy even made fun of you that you don't even date black boys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, my love, you need to wake up, ma'am. You're a black girl. You're a black woman. The world views you as a black woman. You don't show up as a white girl. Okay? You're black. You could hang around all the white people, talk like white people, date white men. You're still black at the end of the day. And it's sad that Riley got to be the one that, and this situation has to be the thing that teaches you that. But hopefully you get it now. And this even happened with Zoe Kravitz. I'll never forget, it was an article that Zoe Kravitz did years ago after she did the movie Dope with A$AP Rocky, and she started, hanging around A$AP, and she said that was the first time I realized I was black. And I was shocked by that because I'm like, yo, parents are Lenny Kravitz and Lisa freaking Bonet. Like, they never talk to you about your blackness. Your grandmother starred on the Jeffersons, ma'am. Like, but once again, when you're rich and you grow up in these environments and they have you in these predominantly white schools and then you're hanging around all these rich white kids and all of this stuff, you grow up thinking that I'm white, I'm black too, but you're not hanging around other people that are black. So you really don't know about who you are and your roots. But she literally was like, that was the first time that I realized I was a black person. I was a black woman. And I was like, that is insanity. But, where was I at? Ava then goes and tells Riley and was like, do you want me to go talk to him? And Riley was like, I don't think he views you the same way he views me. I'm bigger. I'm from the South. You're from New York. I just wish you tell him I'm a black woman too, and doing that hurts you too as a black woman. And I think that her saying that to Ava, it was kind of like, you could look by the expression on Ava's face like, oh, I am black. I should be offended too. Oh yeah. It was like, oh, you're right. Like, nobody told me that. Cause like she didn't have any response to that. And it was like, it probably was like sinking in her brain that I should be offended by this. Why am I not? And I wish that Riley she was sugarcoating it for Ava, because her saying, I'm bigger than you. I'm from the South and you're from New York. And it's not that, my love. And you know that it's not that. It's because I'm brown skinned. I have this natural curly hair. I'm tall, and you assimilate and fit in differently. You show up in blackness differently. You're the more acceptable version of blackness. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with you being from the South, because if you look like Ava and you was from the South, you would be treated in that circle like Ava. It's about the way that you look and your blackness and your skin. That's all that it's about. That's all that it's about. So then Charlie comes over and Riley confronts him. And Charlie was like, yeah, isn't that what you wanted? Like, and Riley was like, we're good, Charlie. And he was like, I hope you mean that. And she was like, oh, I do mean that. You sure right. I mean it from the depths of my soul. And she got up and walked off. And I was like, yes, Riley. Yes. Because hopefully you know now to not give him any more of the air that you breathe. Fuck that little loser ass boy. Because he's a loser. And everything about his life has a big L on it. And that's why he shows up the way that he does, because he's not happy within himself. He doesn't even know who the hell he is as a person, child. So then Ava gets mad at him when she tries to talk to him about the situation. He dismisses her. And Charlie then goes back to Riley and was like, are we good? Because, I really don't want to continue to have this conversation. And she tries once again to explain to him. And I was like, Riley, stop trying to explain to this motherfucker. And he was like, you know what? I'm not doing this again. And she like Charlie and tried to grab his arm. And he was like, can you let go of me? And she quickly let go of him. And he was like, I'm done with this. I'm catching an Uber home. And as he's in the house trying to leave, the tarot reader that Gia hired asks him, can they talk? And he refuses. But that lady had already picked up on his energy as soon as he walked in. She already knew what was up. But he didn't want to go there. He just wanted to leave. And that was the end of the episode. Yeah, Charlie, like I said on last week's episode, is a heathen. He's a loser. And I told y'all last week, the quickest way to get to him is to tap dance on all of his flaws. You 29, you ain't got shit going for yourself. Your daddy hates you. Your mama didn't love you. Like, you got to go there with a person like him for him to get it and understand. You're bankrupt. You ain't got no money. Nobody cares. Nobody loves you. Yeah, walk in traffic. Like, that's really what you have to do. My mama loved me. Okay? My mother loves me. My mother raised me. She didn't give me up at the age of 10 because she just got tired and didn't want to do it anymore. That's what you got to do to a person like him for him to get it. And it's exactly what I told y'all on last week's episode when it came to him and Adriana. Is it? Yeah, her name Adriana. Ain't it Ariana, not Adriana. Child, I just got done doing my Miami review. But remember I said on last week's review that the situation with him and Ariana was so weird that it was given like kids on a playground where it's like, I'm gonna pull your hair and be mean to you because I actually like you. And true enough, on next week's episode, Charlie admits that he has a crush on Ariana. I said, child, I called this shit. I called it. I knew it. I knew it because it was so weird the way he was treating her. He liked her. But he's such a adolescent nincompoop that instead of just saying that or addressing it or whatever, he decided to be mean and rude to her because he don't know no better. He's an idiot. He wasn't raised. He was raised probably by nannies and maids. And he's bitter. And he's an unhappy person. He's horrible. And hopefully being on this show will give him some insight and that he will learn and grow from this. But I don't really know. It's going to take a lot for that little motherfucker. I could see him being on drugs and just end up fucking up his life. I could see him being one of them type of white boys. Very much so. Because he got a lot of shit that he need to deal with that he has not dealt with. And his behavior, I think, is part of the reason why his daddy treat him the way that he does. Because the daddy is disgusted with him. But it's just like, you're disgusted with him, but you ain't helped the situation because you're a shitty dad. But they better lay the fuck off Riley. I know that much. I know that much. Don't do it, Bernie. Don't do it. I'm going to give this week's episode of Next Gen NYC an A because it was a very relevant conversation that needed to be had. And it had a lot of relevant points that needs to be shown and discussed, that even with this generation, we're still going through the same stuff when it comes to racism, when it comes to acceptance, when it comes to stereotyping people, when it comes to black people being in white spaces and having to deal with so many microaggressions and all of these different things that people do and say, and you try to grin and bear it. But like, when is enough enough? You know, I wish that she had another person that was a black girl or a black guy on the show that was rooted in their blackness to be there for her. Unfortunately, she does not. But if this show does get a season 2, hopefully that can happen. Or hopefully, you know, her sister can come on the show with her, you know. But fuck Charlie for life. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this week's episode. Let's talk about it down below in the comments section. Please make sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on your post notifications so you know when my videos drop. I love you guys, and I will see you on next week's review. Bye.